Nancy Pelosi has led the House Democrats for 16 years, including a stint as Speaker between 2007 and 2010. Her wealth places her neatly in the top 1%. She's one of the richest members of Congress, with an estimated net worth of over $100 million. You can see why from this little story. On March the 18th, 2008, while she was Speaker, Nancy Pelosi bought $220,000 of Visa IPO, or initial public offering, stock. She got it a day before it was publicly traded, a privilege reserved for a select group of hand-picked investors. Here's where it gets really swampy. 2 weeks before she was given special access to the IPO stock, a piece of legislation called the Credit Card Fair Fee Act of 2008 was introduced in the House. It would have cut Visa's revenues and hurt Visa's stock price, something that then Speaker Pelosi now had a direct interest in. By a remarkable coincidence, this piece of antitrust legislation, normally such a priority for Democrats, never made it to a vote on the House floor. When this shady transaction was previously reported, Pelosi's office published a classic non-denial denial, including the following laughable claim. Leader Pelosi has been in the lead advocating for Congress to act in the public interest and not the special interest. Laughable because for 16 years, Leader Pelosi, a.k.a. Queen of the Swamp, has presided over one of the most blatant ways in which special interests get what they want in Washington, the institutional corruption of the congressional dues system. As House Leader, Nancy Pelosi is heavily involved in the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, or DCCC. Democratic members of Congress effectively buy their seats on congressional committees by raising money for the DCCC. Helpfully, there's a menu with prices. According to a leaked DCCC document, in the 2014 election cycle, for a regular committee member, it's $125,000. For a ranking member of the Judiciary Committee, it's $250,000. And for the ranking member of the powerful Financial Services Committee, it's $500,000. Of course it is, because that committee regulates the richest businesses, Wall Street. At the time the document was leaked, the ranking member of the Financial Services Committee was, wait for it, Maxine Waters. That election cycle, she raised over $150,000 from donors in just two industries, securities and investment and commercial banks. They were two of her top 5 donation sources. For this year's midterms, Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats have chosen "For the People" as their slogan, and their platform pledges a crackdown on corruption in Washington. The irony is richer than Nancy Pelosi herself. Now, let's move on to Senator Ted Cruz. You may be thinking, why go after a conservative senator in a tight race? Well, because of what he himself said endlessly in his 2016 presidential campaign. One of Ted Cruz's signature phrases was taking on the Washington cartel of big business and its lobbyists. Here's a reminder.
As you know, this summer I wrote a book called A Time for Truth, where I talk a great deal about the Washington cartel, the career politicians in both parties who get in bed with the lobbyist and the special interest and grow and grow and grow government.
Senator Cruz serves on a number of powerful Senate committees, including Armed Services, Commerce, Science and Transportation, and Judiciary. All of them bring in donations from the very same corporations that Cruz regulates. You might say he's in bed with them. One of his biggest donor sources is defense contractor Lockheed Martin. They gave Cruz nearly $30,000 this election cycle and over $70,000 in the last cycle. Those dollars seem to be working. Ted Cruz recently bragged about pressing President Trump to stick with Lockheed's infamously expensive F-35 fighter program. Quote, "I took the lead in pressing both the president directly, but also Secretary of Defense Mattis on the incredible value of the F-35. I bet you did, Ted. That's how the Washington cartel works, right?" Ted Cruz's position on the Commerce, Science and Transportation Committee is a money spinner too. In the last year or so, he raised over $370,000 from the transportation industry. But the Washington cartel isn't just about donations. It's about the revolving door between Congress and lobbying. In fact, it's about people like David Polyansky, Ted Cruz's chief of staff, who then became president of Clout Public Affairs, a lobbying and public relations firm. Here's David Polyansky boasting on his own company website about what his firm does for its clients. Quote, "Each and every day, we will have an agenda, we will have a structure, and there will be no tactical decisions made that don't help advance the overall strategic objective, influencing things in Washington, influencing things back at the state capitol." Sounds a bit Washington cartel, no? Now, David Polyansky is upset that anyone would call him a lobbyist. In fact, he's so upset, he sent us a bullying letter from his swamp lawyers, Claire Locke, telling us not to call him a lobbyist. Big mistake. I don't respond well to bullying swamp lawyers. So let's really examine what David Polyansky, Ted Cruz's former right-hand man, is saying. He boasts to clients about his firm, quote, influencing things in Washington, but gets his lawyers to threaten us with legal action if we call him a lobbyist. All right, Mr. Polyansky, I'm very happy to tell our viewers that you are not a lobbyist. You're just the president of a firm that goes around influencing things in Washington. By the way, there are more Ted Cruz staffers spinning through the revolving door. But after that lawyer's letter, I just wanted to spend a bit more time on the non-lobbyist, David Polyansky. And of course, this couldn't possibly happen because he's not a lobbyist. But if by chance you or anyone you know feels like you've been influenced by David Polyansky, do let us know at swamptips@gmail.com. On top of all that, lobbyists have donated over $46,000 to Cruz's re-election campaign this cycle and over $100,000 since he took office in 2012. One of them, David Schiappa, donated $1,000 in December 2017, which is interesting because Schiappa works for the lobbying firm Duberstein Group, and one of the clients Schiappa was assigned to represent is defense contractor Northrop Grumman. Do you remember what White House Budget Director Mick Mulvaney said? If you're a lobbyist who never gave us money, I didn't talk to you. If you're a lobbyist who gave us money, I might talk to you. Well, here's another lobbyist who gave Ted Cruz money. On March the 29th, 2017, Edie Rogers donated $2,700. He's the chairman and co-founder of BGR Group, which in the same year he gave money to Ted Cruz, earned $570,000 lobbying on behalf of the Kurdistan regional government and another $500,000 lobbying on behalf of the government of Saudi Arabia. Did Ted Cruz talk to him? Did his staff? We don't know because meetings with lobbyists are not reported. Ted Cruz lectured us endlessly about the corrupt Washington cartel while being a fully paid-up member of it. He's taking money from lobbyists for car and plane companies regulated by his Senate Transportation Committee and from lobbyists for defense contractors getting billions of dollars from his Armed Services Committee. He's even taking money from lobbyists for foreign governments, not to mention the revolving door between his office and the swamp. We reached out to Senator Cruz's office for comment. Their statement includes the following. While every single member of Congress engages with lobbyists in some capacity, the test is whether they are beholden to them. And Cruz has proven time and again that he's not. He answers to the Texas voters, and his actions back that up. Well, you decide. Ted Cruz's statement did not respond to or deny any of our specific points tonight. Ted Cruz attacking the Washington cartel. Nancy Pelosi saying she's for the people. What giant hypocrites both of them are.